Let's start, if you wouldn't mind, Grant, talking about Ryan Tafazoli, who, of course, was sold yesterday to Wickham. Why was it time for him to move on?
We just feel as if we've got obviously Yordi, Jacob Greaves, Sean McLaughlin. We're well stacked in that area. Obviously, Taff didn't play as many games as he wanted to last year because of the form of Yordi, particularly in the first half of the season. And we just thought it was a right call for us, really. We wanted to make sure Taff didn't lose out on his game time again. So it was a good option for him. And we feel as if we've got two very good young ones underneath Device.
Talking of those young ones, will they get a chance this weekend?
Well, they both travel with us, yeah. They both travel to Sunderland, and we're really pleased, in terms of where we are. Obviously, we had a bit of an imbalance in terms of the centre backs, where we have 4 left-sided centre backs and 2 right-sided centre backs. We're in the process of hopefully adding another centre back today, a right-sided centre back. So hopefully that goes through today at some point. So then I'm pleased. I've got 3 right-sided ones and three left-sided ones, and every single one of them's chomping at the bit for a starting place.
Who are we signing today?
Sorry, Matt, could you repeat that? The Wi-Fi's not great. Is it?
Matt, we're experiencing some problems. Could you repeat that, if possible?
Yeah, no problem. Who are you signing today, Grant?
I can't give you it yet because it hasn't gone through yet, but we're hopeful it goes through today. But yeah, you give us good strength and depth.
Is this a permanent deal or is it a loan?
It'll be a permanent deal.
And what level has this player been playing at up until recently?
Well, he's coming from a Premier League club. He's had 2 very good loans already. One in Scotland and one in England, already out of Southampton. So he brings a good wealth of experience of 2 different leagues as well, and particularly the league we're in. So it'll be a good coup for us because there's a few clubs after him, and he'll be good for us.
Can you remember the game Guess Who? We're just like playing that at the moment, putting down the...
Unfortunately, I can't tell you because both clubs have to agree in terms of when the player goes out on various platforms. So I think everything's done. The medical's done. The player's near enough there on his contract, and it's just about both clubs coming together and releasing it.
No, I understand. That's fair enough. As for other departures, can you rule out further ones, Grant?
Yeah, I mean we're in no particular need to sell anybody. There has been offers for some of our players. Probably been well documented in terms of Yordi and Leo in particular. But nothing's met the valuation of the club, and that's where we are at this present time. And we'll continue to work with these boys while they're here.
Have you been able to conclude a deal for Rochdale's Ollie Rathbone?
I'm not going to get dragged into any speculation about players coming in. We have targets in mind, of course, and like I said, probably every window there's going to be players upon players linked to us. Rightly, wrongly, or whatever way you want to look at it. So I don't want to get drawn into any speculation about anybody who's not here at this present time.
I understand. You mentioned Geordie a few moments ago. Obviously, he's lost the captaincy for this season. Where does that leave him now? Plenty of fans have wondered that. What can you say?
Geordie's been first class since he's come back. You've got to remember, our captain last year was Eric Lehigh. Vice captain was Jackson Irvine. Those 2 lads didn't want to play the last 9 games. We give Geordie the captaincy for the last 9 games. That's all it was. Geordie understood that. So we feel as if we've brought in a very good leader in terms of Richie Small. That's not saying Geordie's not, but just the experience of Richie, the know-how, the promotions he's won from this level, we can see it right away, and it's the reason why we brought him in. Just the way he carries himself every single day in training, and leading some of the younger ones and helping them along as well is exactly what we needed. So I feel as if that's a good signing for us.
Will Jordi be staying at the club then?
Sorry?
Will Jordi be staying at the club?
Oh, 100%, yeah. 100%. It's like I say, I think every player's got a valuation. The club will have a valuation on every player until that's matched. And if the owner wants to accept it, then they stay. That's just at every football club, yeah.
And does Jordi want to stay? Has he said that to you?
Yeah, well, he's here. I mean, he's contracted to the club for another 2 years, this year and a year's option. So, that's where he is.
How do you rate your summer business so far, Grant?
I think it's been excellent so far, and we want to make it better also. Hopefully, this lad who comes in today will help us in the centre back area. We also want to add more to the forward area, and we want to add more to the midfield. So we're working very hard on that, and hopefully we can have them done, wrapped up, tied up, whatever way you want to call it, before we lead into Gillingham.
I see. Anything else before the weekend, other than the defender?
Nothing before this weekend, apart from the defender, hopefully today. The other little bits and pieces that we need to do, i.e. midfield and forward area, hopefully next week.
Who will be absent for you this weekend? Any injuries at all?
Yeah, well, we're missing Callum Elder. Callum had a little bit of a problem back end of last season with his groin. So he's been on a rehabilitation period over this pre-season, but he's very, very close. Could be okay for next week against Gillingham. We don't want to take any risks with him. So not yet anyway, because he hasn't had much time with the team. Louis Coyle obviously misses the game through suspension, but also has a knock anyway that he did in the tackle for Fleetwood in the playoff game. So he'll miss the weekend, and obviously misses Gillingham as well. Comes back after that. Josh McGuinness is on international duty. James Scott's on international duty, and Leo is probably 2-3 weeks behind everybody because he's been off ill. So particularly all those 5 will miss the game, but everyone else is fine.
And you mentioned the youngsters earlier on. I mean, Jacob Greaves is a defender who's exciting quite a lot of people. Could he be given his debut this weekend?
Well, we've got 2 really good young centre backs. McLaughlin and Greaves on the left hand side, and a really good young one in Festus Arthur, who's impressed everybody as well in pre-season. But we've got 2 older ones and experienced ones in Reece and Jordi. So I've got good options there in the centre back area.
Okay, thank you. How do you feel about getting back underway?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it, and you can't let the past, what's that saying? You can't let the past about the future and stuff like that. The future's for us now is looking forward. That's what I will say. We want to look forward now. We've got a big job on to try and get out of this league. It's going to be tough. League One's a tough league, but we got to make sure we approach it head on and try and have a good go at it. I think the players that we've brought in are showing that we are. So if we can get another couple of little bits of business through the door, then I think we'll be strong. You can't let the past define your future. That's what I meant to say.
What lessons were learnt from last season? What lessons were learnt from last season, Grant? What were the big ones?
The lessons last season, we didn't know how big of an effect losing the 2 wide players was going to be on the whole group. If we look at it differently, the injuries at the time that we picked them up didn't help us either. And we just like I've said to you at the back end of last season, or the end of the season, we simply weren't good enough. That's everybody included. We just simply weren't good enough to stay in the division. But we've got an opportunity now to bounce back, and we're all looking forward to that challenge.
How are you a changed man after last season?
Sorry?
How are you a changed man after last season?
Well, look, last season's last season. You know, we have to draw a line under it. And we have to move on to the next one now. I'm feel really motivated to do better than what we done last season, and that comes from me and my staff to try and drum it into the players to try and have a charge and promotion push. That's what we want to do.
Can I just ask you a couple of sort of final questions from me, really, and thanks for your time today. COVID-19 is very much shaping what we do at the moment, isn't it? What are your hopes and fears for the season ahead with COVID-19 very much in your mind?
Yeah, it's been a tough time for all, hasn't it? You know, away from football, particularly, it's been tough. For me, I just can't wait for the fans to get back in the stadiums. It's really difficult, you know, playing in front of no fans, and we experienced it obviously for 9 games the back end of last season. It's going to be new for a lot of teams in League One. You know, getting into the season with no fans, but we've got the experience of it now. We just want the fans back in. You know, they're the heartbeat. I've said it before. They're the heartbeat of every football club. They drive people to get results. You know, when you're not feeling too good, or you're a bit down, or the game's not going your way, you know, your fans can drive you to get the points, and the sooner the better for me. And it's nice to see they had a trial run at Brighton. Hopefully that, you know, it's not too long before we get fans back through the gates and start supporting their teams again.
What are your fears for this? Do you have any at all in terms of the COVID-19 situation?
Say that again, Matt. You just broke off there.
Sorry. Do you have any fears regarding COVID-19 for the forthcoming season?
Fears? I don't know. I mean, it's not anything that we can control. We just got to play it by ear and crack on as normal, really, and try and work. You know, we're very professional around here, the doctor and Andrew, and the way we have set protocols around here to make sure everybody stays safe. And you know, that's what we'll continue to do. But like I said, until the fans get back, you know, it's that's what we all want, to get back in the stadiums and help supporters to results each weekend.
And you couldn't have picked a much tougher first game, could you? Sunderland away?
Not really. No, I mean, it's a tough game. It's a tough game. You know, they've got a strong squad there at Sunderland. They've strengthened well as well. It's going to be a tough game, but I think, look, if we want to be up and around the top end of the league this year, like we do, then I'm sure Sunderland are thinking the same. So it'll be a good marker for us, and to see where we are. And like I say, likewise, Sunderland will be thinking the same.
Wish you well, Grant. Thanks for being generous with your time.
Thanks, Mike.
Am I right to jump in? Is that okay?
Sorry, we didn't hear that. Can you repeat it?
Hi, Grant. Sorry, mate. I've just realised my head's forehead's so shiny in this division. You've had a relatively short pre-season, haven't you?
Yeah, it has been. It's been about 3 or 4 weeks or so. We've had a good pre-season, though. We've had a week up in Edinburgh. The boys have worked very hard. We've had a lot of in-house games between ourselves, and we've got a friendly against Rotherham, 2 friendlies, and it's been an excellent pre-season. The boys are in a good place physically, anyway. So we're looking forward to the games now.
You mentioned about the crowds there. It's just been announced, I'm not sure if you've seen it, that Cambridge are going to be piloting fans in grounds over the next couple of games. That's a step in the right direction, isn't it?
Oh, of course, 1,000,000%. You know, I think that's what we all want. We want the fans back as soon as possible, and it's difficult for football clubs. Obviously, the revenue and stuff coming in at this present time, there's zero. So I think it's for everybody to get them back. That'll be everything. You know, as our staff and the players, that's what drives you every week, is your fans supporting and getting behind you.
Something you've had to contend with as well that's going to be new to you this pre-season is a salary cap as well. Have you had to bear that in mind when you've been drawing up your plans for pre-season? Yes, yeah, we have. And it's been a bit difficult, really, but everyone's in the same boat. So you've got to be careful with our budget. We've got to make sure we do it properly, and we don't go over it or anything like that. So
we've been very mindful of that when we're recruiting.
Are you in agreement that that's for the greater good, the salary cap, and do you think it's a good thing for the future of football that it's coming?
I think everyone's got different opinions on it. I think the folk was that tight anyway, so it just shows how split it was. For me, bigger clubs, if they can spend money, then they should be allowed to spend money, of course. But the wages are difficult at this present time, and like everyone's got a different thought on it. For me, it's we are where we are. We just have to crack on. We get on with it. We have to live by our means, and especially in the way we are at the minute in this pandemic, it's not easy for football clubs to go out and splash big money on people or big wages, and we just have to live by it.
Cheers, Grant. All the best.
Thanks very much.
Hi, Grant. Can I just ask you? You sort of touched on it there. You've had a very different 6 months to most of the teams in the division. Physically and mentally, do you think that will give you an advantage at the start of the season or not?
I hope so. I mean, I hope that obviously the teams that's come down have probably not had long of a break. So we're hoping it might give us a bit of an advantage. But we've worked very hard here in terms of trying to change the culture a little bit in and around everything we do at the training ground. And hopefully in turn that sets us off in winning games on Saturdays now. So that's what we want to do. We want to change the culture, the players that we've brought in, the characters we've brought in, leaders that we've brought in, and also added to the good ones that stayed here and the ones that we wanted to stay. So we're looking forward to the season ahead, and hopefully we can have a good one.
Do you feel, obviously, after you lost Eric and Jackson in particular, did you feel lack of leadership was a bit of a problem in the back end of the season?
Well, look,
on-field leadership, obviously.
When your captain and your vice captain leaves, and then it's difficult, isn't it? Of course it is, and we didn't want to hide behind it at that point. We had to try and get the results to try and stay in the lead. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But now we've got an opportunity to do it and bounce back. It'll be tough. I know League One, it's tough. It's a very, very tough league, and it's demanding. And Saturday, Tuesday, Saturdays now for a while, and the cup games in between. So it's a real challenge, and we have to make sure we've got a real robust group and a strong group that can deal with these challenges. From one game to the next.
And beyond changing the personnel, what sort of things are you able to do to try and change the culture?
Well, there's a lot of things we've done, myself and the staff and the players, and the week in Edinburgh was really good for us. That we had a real good, honest and open conversations and trying to address this year. We want to set goals in terms of where we see ourselves and what we can do, both team and individual. And we want to make sure around the training ground that everyone is pulling their weight, whether that's on the pitch or off the pitch. So we're trying very hard in terms of everything we do here. I think bringing fresh blood, characters, leaders into the change room as well will help that, and already has, and we can see it already. So that's what we need to do. Now we need to come as one, and let's see where we go at the end of the season. And that's the aim, is for us to try and bounce back at the first time of asking.
And obviously that brings with it different pressures to the pressures you had last season. I mean, we've seen Sunderland have found it difficult to come to terms with that. Is that going to be the biggest challenge for your boys, that you'll be one of the big scalps in this division? Yeah,
we probably will. You're right, and that comes with the territory when you're a big club and you're in this division. So coming to the KCOM is going to be seen as a lovely place to come, lovely stadium, lovely pitch. Teams will come play with a bit of freedom, but that's where we need to be good. That's where we need to be really good and see if we can overcome that and get the results.
And in terms of how the squad's changed this season, I mean, how should we expect it to look different in terms of the way your team performs?
Sorry, Stuart, you broke off there, mate. It was just a bit fuzzy.
Sorry, Grant. I just wonder how the team will look different this season in terms of how it plays.
How it plays? Well, look, you see the personnel that's come in already, so right away it's going to look differently and feel differently. So we just want to make sure we approach this season in the right way and we have a good start. I think a good start will be important, and that's what we're aiming to do.
But I mean, what sort of areas you looked at? Could we expect it to be more physical, more pacey? What sort of things are you trying to bring in this season?
I don't quite get your question. I don't know what you mean. In terms of what this something is that what you're trying to do? Say. Hello? Sure.
Sorry, I don't know if you can hear me. You're breaking a bit. Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, can you? Sorry. No, I just wondered. Obviously, you're trying to improve the team over the summer. I just wonder in what sort of ways you're looking to improve it.
Well, improving the team improves the way you play. So that's why we've improved the team. Ultimately, we want to play on the front foot. We want to be a team that wants to get after teams and create and score a lot of goals. But also, we know we need to be strong defensively. Areas where we've looked at this season, this last season gone, as we weren't good enough at attacking our defensive set plays. Although after we come back from lockdown, we looked a lot stronger. So there's a lot of areas where we have worked on over these last 3 or 4 weeks to try and put us in a better place for approaching this season. And we look to try and implement that from Saturday onwards.
Okay, and just from a personal point of view, Grant, you talked about joining a line under last season and moving on. How long did it take you to do that? Were you very quick to move on? Did you have a sort of a week dwelling on it? How was it?
Yeah, I think it hurt everybody after the last game when we knew we were going to go down. But we all had about, I think it was about 10 days where we just stayed away from each other and rested and tried to regroup. But we haven't had much of a break really. So the boys have come back in after about 2.5 weeks. So physically we're in a good state. But yeah, we try to address it. We've had some good meetings in terms of the staff, players, etc. And now everyone is on the same page, looking forward to a good season ahead.
Do you think having such a short break might actually have helped in that there's not much time for people to mope about it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the season's upon us now. The first cup game's on Saturday. Like I said, I don't want to dwell too much on it because we've all completely forgotten about last season. We're only looking forward now.
And you mentioned Sunderland. Are they going to be a good litmus test for you in terms of are they one of the teams you expect to be competing with this season?
I would have thought so. I mean, they're always up and around it. The year I was there with Doncaster, they got beaten in the final against Charlton. So last season, I'm not quite sure were they just outside the playoffs when they finished or were they in it? They were right up there anyway. So I think Sunderland will be in and around it for sure. So this will give us a good marker of where we are as well.
And just you mentioned to Matt about Jordi Device and how committed he is. I guess fans will be concerned as well. You've explained it's because of illness, but Leo's lack of involvement in pre-season, is he fully committed to staying at the club?
No, Leo wants to leave. Leo made that very clear to me at the end of the season. There's been a couple of offers for him, but not to the valuation of the club that we expect for him. So he's come back in the last couple of days, haven't been ill. Until there's a valuation met that the club sees fit, then Leo will be a Hull City player. But at this present time, it hasn't happened.
And how difficult is it to manage a player in those circumstances?
It's not difficult for me really because we've brought some good players in, and if that's Leo, if he wants to go and play somewhere else, then that's fine. But Leo's contracted for another 3 years here, so until a valuation comes in that the club sees fit, then Leo will still be here. So that's where we are.
And just finally, I mean, after everything that has changed over the summer, it seems from the way you're speaking that there's a positive feel around the club, and you're going into this season, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, there is. There is. I mean, there's a real positivity about since we've come back, and everyone knows where we went wrong last season. Now we want to try and put it right. We want to have a good season. We want to see if we can get a cup run in one of the cups, whether it's the Carabao or the FA Cup. Let's see if we can go far on those and try and get some progressive time in the checker trade. I think it's called, is it the checker or the leasing.com? EFL has been called that many trophies over these last few years. Yeah. But we can get a run on that as well. So there's going to be a lot of games this season, and that's what we want. We want a busy schedule. We want to make sure we're competing for the league, for cup games, and making sure that everybody enjoys it now. So, we've hit from pillar to post from January onwards. Now we need to turn the corner. Now we need to change the culture. Now we need to make sure we embrace the challenge of winning. And that's the big thing for me.